I'd like to, but there's no way I can make it like the fuel house. She's a little too far gone, so we're coming up with Plan B.
Very good. Thank you. Staff, did I hear any staff presentation? No? You made mention of the,
Would like to. I don't know that there's any information beyond what's already been provided to the council. If the owners are seeking a continuance to reschedule this hearing, then that's something to be determined by the council.
very good. Others that would like to address the council?
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Wright Wilson, 132 Elm Street. So we're almost directly across from the back side of that building. And I'm all for something cool happening there. You guys have done a lot of good work at the Fuel House, but it's not secure and it's not safe. And we have a lot of kids in the area. And it's this flat roof that's a short hop over a fence, and it's really attractive to kids to go hang up around on that roof. We've got a park right there. So in consideration of a continuance, I think that you all need to make some efforts to make that building more secure and safe. I think that there should be some conditions around that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Others that would like to address the city council concerning this item?
I'm Dennis Dukes, 220 West 2nd Street in Bonner. And I just want to reiterate what she said about it. The roof is collapsing now. There's parts of it that are caved in there. And it is such easy access. I worry that some kid or someone's going to get on there and have it fall in and someone's going to get hurt. So I don't see how the building could be reused. I just think it needs to come down. And those are my concerns.
Thank you.
My name is Marcia Hollenbach. I live at 216 West 2nd Street. I own a building up on Oak Street, 201 Oak, which is the barber shop and Corner Collections, the apartment above. And I don't know how long this is going to go on. They bought this a long time ago, and it's just deteriorating and just falling apart. And it is, to me, it's just an eyesore to Oak Street. And I just think if they're not going to be able to use the building, just demolish it now. At least you'd have a flat surface there instead of having caution tape around one side of it. And I just know that when I got a summons, or because I had some falling brick on my building, it wasn't threatening, but it was right to the point. If I didn't get it fixed, they were going to fine me. So I spent $5,000 fixing my brick right away. And I think this has just gone on way too long. It's just not anything I like to see up on Oak Street. There's a lot of businesses and I've had people come into my shop and say, this is such a nice place. What is with that building down there? Why is it there? So I just think there should be some action taken right away to go ahead and demolish it and have a flat surface and then start the planning from there on out. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mm-hmm.
I'm Kent Wilson, and Stephanie's already given our address right across the street from the backside of the Thriftway there. And I fondly refer to it as a dirty Thriftway. I think what a lot of people of this community don't know is that it has gone through multiple hands since the Thriftway closed down. So I don't, in all fairness to the current owners, I don't know all the processes they've been through, how long they've owned it, how many. I understand from tonight there's been 3 different development proposals for it, but it has been an eyesore for over 7 years now. And just yesterday, before the Super Bowl, I saw 2 young kids, probably 4 years old and about 9, riding their bikes over there. The little kid got off his bike and went that direction towards the fence and the roof. And I ran across the street because I didn't see a parent there prior to. And I was concerned that they were going to go either through the gate, because a lot of kids like to go through that gate and then crawl up on the roof, or sometimes that fence is insecure. And I didn't want to have that be a Super Bowl tragedy for our community. So it is a concern. It's something that we've always kept an eye on the park over there. And the Thriftway is right there. Obviously, it affects our property values when people come into our community. You know, I have clients that come into Bonner. Had one actually, you know, referred to it as, you know, kind of white trash. And I'm like, well, I can't say I disagree with you. We need to clean it up. We need to quit treating this town and the entrance to our downtown, our historic downtown, the entrance, like it's a flea market. We need to take it seriously, get a plan approved and move it forward, or demolish it and create a park, whatever it may be. But the way it stands right now is unacceptable.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Anything else to be brought concerning this item? Please.
Yep. We recognize the issues that this property causes, and we would certainly be willing to increase the height of that fence to try to secure, to the greatest extent possible, any roof access. We also agree that this site is going to be demolished, but it's the most efficient, effective way is to take a holistic approach at looking at how's the demolition and the redevelopment going to take place at the same time. And so that's frankly why we're asking for the continuance. In the meantime, you know, we can dispatch the fencing out there to secure that hazard.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and close the hearing at 7:46, and I would entertain a motion concerning a resolution.
Do we have some motion outlines that we could follow?
You have at least two different resolutions. One is a motion to adopt a resolution finding the structure located at 112 and 120 Oak Street as unsafe and dangerous, and directing the owners to commence the removal of the structure no later than March 27th, 2023. There's a resolution that I believe is part of the agenda packet that goes through that method. Another option is to, as the individual stated, I believe, just table the item for a specified period of time, in which case they could represent a plan at a later date if that's or how the council wishes to go. And then the other option would be to find that there is no unsafe conditions with the address and
Without having to repeat that very first option,
Yep.
I'd like to put that motion on the floor.
So
If you could reread that,
can the
Greg,
clerk
that'd be great.
go ahead and
So you're wanting to make a motion to adopt a resolution finding the structure located at 112 and 120 Oak Street is unsafe and dangerous, and directing that the owners commence the removal of the structure no later than March 27th, 2023?
That would be correct.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start down here, sir.
Not yet. I think you answered one of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you feel that structure was going to be anything you could do to salvage it? As to me, it sounds like you're planning on going on, you know, completely just, you know, bringing it down. I understand dollar-wise, if you can only, you know, deploy the equipment out there once, it's going to be better for you. But we're at a point with that building that it's gone on way too long, and we appreciate all the efforts you're making, and we hope that you're able to get something developed there. But we can't continue, I don't think, for another 6 months, another year and a half. Not only, I went out there myself, even though I've seen that building many a times from the park and from the road. I took a little time Saturday to actually go around the complete building, and you don't even have to jump a fence. There's a couple spots in the fence where it's completely open, and it's right there. A person only has to step up about 3 inches, and they're on the roof. Talking to our first responders, they will tell you they've advised their staff not to enter the building because it's so unsafe. I just think the longer we leave that there, even if you put up a 20-foot fence, people are going to find a way to try to get in there, as well as there are other things that happen inside that building, such as varmints, rats. Are going to take care of making sure those aren't infecting the rest of the homeowners that live around there, the other businesses. I think it's time, unfortunately, that we just have to move forward and get that building down.
I don't see the 90 days being as much, as long as we're coming back and making it safe right now. That is imperative, because I mean, even if they mobilize to demolish it, we still need it safe over the next X amount. So if we can get the property reasonably secured, it's been there for 7 years. I think making the correct investment and getting somebody that's going to push this through, because I've been on council quite a while now and heard multiple options that have not happened, and I have full faith in this. So I'd like to see some leniency on this and get the site secure, but come back with a plan. Thank you.
So you're suggesting moving from March 23rd to May 23rd?
The 90-day.
90-day.
What they requested.
I'm of mixed mind, because I think if we did table for 90 days, asking you to secure the property, that would give you the opportunity to come forward with a plan, but I don't think you'd be ready to move dirt in 90 days. So then, to Mr. Stevens' point, we're still multiple months out from it actually coming down, and that's, I'm torn.
It needs to come down. I'm just tired of explaining to people that it's an ongoing process, and, it needs to go.
Sir?
You have the intent to do a demolition there, right? Clear it off.
That's correct.
That's correct. So within 90 days, you can proceed with that?
So, just to reiterate a little bit of the past, we have applied multiple times for grants and funding to get the building taken down, which we were almost certain, working with city staff, that it was a no-brainer that would happen, and both times it was rejected. So we have hired a private counsel and Mr. Bowers to help us to succeed this time in getting funding to help with the project. But it takes, 60 days, 90 days to make that happen. So that's where we're at with it. The intent is to take it down. We certainly don't want anybody up on the roof. We don't want anybody getting hurt. So, that's kind of what we're asking, if we can, put up a better fence along the backside so that people can't get on there. They shouldn't be anyway. I understand kids are kids. I was a kid. We were all kids at one time. They shouldn't be trespassing and climbing up on the building. Parents should, do their best to keep that away. Not saying it's okay. The building does look bad. Chad's building is across the street. He has to look at it, and he hates it. So I can assure you the intent is to get the building down, make it safe in the meantime, and come to you guys with a reasonable plan in 60 days. So that's
60.
kind of where we're at with it.
60 days.
90 days.
90 days.
90 days, I'm sorry.
So it sounds like the city's been benign for quite some time, right, with given latitude to try to come up with a plan. My thought is say 90 days, you come with the intent or set that as a date, right, in May, do your demolition work, and consider that as a phase, and then come up with a second plan of what you're gonna do with it, right? And once you do that, so what happens once the demolition takes place? You plant grass, it's gonna be
Well,
put flowers there, I mean, what are your intentions?
some of that depends on the type of funding and grants that we may or may not receive. Some won't allow us to build anything on it for a set amount of time. I'm not an expert in all of that. That's why we hired the guy to help us do it, and we have Aaron on our team to help us figure that out. But I do know that some of the restrictions are that you can't do anything with it. So yeah, it would just be,
So it's still gonna be a fenced-in area, is that correct?
it would just be,
Once you even enter the demolition work?
yeah,
For
the
safety
wall,
reasons.
the wall would stay, obviously. It holds back the road and everything else. We've had engineers look at it and they say that the wall's sound and as long as it's not damaged in demolition, that'll sustain for a long time, maybe forever. And, so I don't know if we would fence it off or leave it as it is. I know everybody uses it as a parking lot.
Correct.
Basically, everybody on Oak Street, Tiblo Days, on and on, so I think everybody gets some benefit out of it. It does have an ugly, crappy building on it, I get it, but I don't think the intent would necessarily be to fence it off and not allow people to use it. Now, if it's grass, I guess we'd have to.
Right.
But
Anything else?
I don't have anything else to say that hasn't already been said. I know that the intent is good. I'm excited for whatever is going to happen there. Will 90 days give you the time you need? From there, if we say continue till 90 days, is it at that point we would be able to go ahead and say that the building needs to come down, or would it require further continuance?
I think in 90 days, I can't commit that in 90 days, I mean, I have partners, and, so I can't commit that in 90 days, there's gonna be track hose and bulldozers and things showing up, but we will definitely have a plan to either move forward with the demo and, the new project that we're looking at for that site, or demolition, yes. And I don't think it would take very long thereafter to bring the building down. It's not gonna take another 90 days or another 60 days after that point. But we're just really scrambling, trying to, this is our fourth time at trying to go after funding that we were certain was a no-brainer, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
Just, number one on the, just for the record, the city did not deny the grants. The grants were denied by the person that you were applying to, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted that on record.
No, it didn't have anything to do with the city
I know.
denying. No, the city was trying to help us to get them, and it's just, we were unfortunate that we weren't selected.
Okay, you said you have a plan. I would think that there would definitely be a foundational plan that you're going after. But you have applied, I think you said 3 or 4 different times, and nothing has happened. What does concern me, though, is in those times, that there wasn't some type of secure to keep kids off that roof and stuff, and why that was not. I'm not going to say it wasn't thought about, but it wasn't accomplished, and I'm kind of concerned as to why, since you've had, more than enough time to, have that secured, and that's just my opinion. I don't mean to throw anything in your face at all. On the funding, I know you were talking about the grants and you were waiting for that, and I know how that can go. I think all of us do, and that's extremely frustrating because you're waiting on somebody else. What is your opinion right now and your thought if you do not get the financial backing that you're seeking, or get any grants or whatever you're applying for within this 90-day period?
It simply to be raise the building. tear the building down.
So you do have the funds, or, I'm not trying to get personal, but you do have the support to be able to accomplish that?
We'll have to figure that out, yeah.
That's not the answer I'm looking for, to be honest with you, because I would think if you're asking for 90 days, that would be in your thought process, that would be something that you would have already as a backup plan. I would not feel real comfortable if you came back to us and said, well, look, 90 days, we can't do a thing, we can't even raise the building because we don't have that. Are you at that point, or do you have that ability to perform that?
I'm pretty confident we can raise the building without having to have grants and funding.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
I think just to piggyback onto the Councilmember Long's question, this is in 90 days, we are going to know, is this going to be demo plus redevelopment? Or is it just going to be demo and then wait for redevelopment? So these are not binary choices of either all or nothing.
No, I wasn't
So,
approaching that.
so we're certainly, that's what we're here to see if we can coordinate these two, understanding that if we cannot, the city has all the power and we are absolutely obligated to remove public hazard. And that will take place. So it's not one or the other.
No, I wasn't, I appreciate you saying that, because that was definitely not my intent to trap or to infer. I was merely asking that, it's like, hey, we're making an agreement, and if we can't do this, then this is what the demolition, I believe you just referred to that.
We've kind of come to a hinge point here.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure.
There's been several opportunities or applications for grants along the way, weren't successful. Whether or not there's another one, whether or not it's successful, we all recognize this is languished in a state of constant, continual disrepair, and we're trying to remediate that and go in another direction. So appreciate all you've done. I think it's in everyone's best interest that the site be secured as best as possible. You have quite a risk there, and to mitigate that would be in both of our interests. So the main point of contention is really not that different from our position and their position. It sounds like 60 days.
I'd like to ask another question, too.
Yes.
This is of staff. The process, if the motion that's on the floor currently, if it were to get approved, what is the actual timeline? Because it's not like they're going to need to show up with equipment at the end of February and tear that building down.
It's flexible. The timeline is flexible. The resolution isn't this strict binding requirement that certain steps have to be made. All it requires is that the owners have to commence the work within a reasonable amount of time to be determined by the council.
This has a date of March 27th?
We've put in there 45 days as a number. So March 27th is reflective of 45 days after today. Obviously, if you do choose to increase it or decrease it, we would just ask that we're able to identify that specific date, just to make it clear as day that this is the date certain to commence.
Now, does that mean that's when they have to start, or they have to actually pull the demolition permit?
So
But they have a certain number of days to actually.
Yep, so to be clear, they do have to have a demolition permit issued by the city of Bonner Springs, which will go through the particulars of securing the site, making it safe. Maybe just to read the section within the resolution. The owner of the property to raise and remove the subject structure and perform any necessary trash or debris removal, cleanup, filling, or excavation so as to ensure the property is made safe and secure, and orders that the owner shall commence the removal of the subject structure within a reasonable time, but no later than, and then that's the date we're discussing. Diligent progress shall be defined in a demolition permit prepared and submitted by the owner, which may be issued and amended at the sole discretion of city officials of the city of Bonner Springs. So typically, our demolition permit is structured at a six-month time frame, but I believe commencing would be that they are commencing the removal of the structure within that specified time period. Is that?
That's accurate, yes.
So whatever date.
Spot on.
Whatever date we specify is the date they have to start actually in the process of, and then they have 6 months from that point in time.
It says here diligent progress can be defined as a demolition permit prepared and submitted by the owner's agent. So that's starting the process at that date. That doesn't have to be torn down on that date.
Gotcha. And that's what I'm trying to establish, is that with the current motion on the floor, is there a certain amount of time that they have built into that process that still allows them to get a plan together and actually, before they actually have to have the equipment mobilized on the site?
Yes.
Does condemning the property hurt the chances at grants? Does that have anything to do with it? Like,
I don't know that.
when you're applying for a grant,
Well,
does it matter if it's condemned or not?
I'm not sure, maybe Amber can speak to this. I'm not aware of any of the grants that would have allowed the demolition or the site prep of the facility. Is that correct?
The only one that would have was the community development block grant that we applied for in 2019 or 2020, I believe it was, that was submitted to the state and not selected. That one was for demolition. Previous to that, it was all for renovation.
And that's the one that requires it to be greenfill for X number of years
Yes,
after.
if it were demoed under that grant, it would have had to be green space for 5 years.
So any of the funding mechanisms that you're pursuing now, it does not make any difference at all if there is a building on the property?
Correct. The ones that we're aware of at this point.
So I'd like to go back to the resolution itself that's currently on the floor, the motion on the floor with the current resolution. Can you give me an idea of the actual benchmarks that have to be hit and what that entails?
Set out by the permit, correct?
Yes, so they would have to get their permit by March 27th, according to the resolution now. And at that time, they'd have 6 months to complete the demolition. Does that answer your question?
That answers it perfectly. So naturally, they're not going to want to show up 5.5 months later and start tearing it down, because it's only going to, but they have to have it done within that 6-month period of time.
And if they don't, or if that isn't successful in that 6 months, then the city tears it down on day 6, month and 1.
If they don't get the demo permit or don't complete the demolition or make diligent progress to complete it within that time frame, then we could complete the demolition, yes.
And my whole reason for asking this whole, getting it very clarified, because everybody's talking about, they're worried about dates, maybe giving a little bit more time. In theory, this process does have some of that extra time already built into it, correct? I mean, I don't know how long it would take. I'm not in that business. I don't know how long it would take to take that structure down. I'm assuming there's some asbestos in there that'll have to be, taken care of. But, I mean, if there's anybody that would have an answer for that, would it be, can a building like that be removed within 2 months, 3 months?
It'd be much faster than that.
So, in theory, current motion on the floor, if it's passed, the clock starts, in theory, on March 27th, when you have to get your, the demolition permit pulled by March 27th, and then you've got 6 months. So it still gives you plenty of time to put a plan, and if a plan doesn't come forward, we don't have to start this process then. The timeline is set when that building has to come down.
Councilman Stevens?
Yes.
The number, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, was given was 90 days. Now, all of a sudden, we're saying 45 days to March, and then we're giving an extra
Oh, this is not me. This,
So
Well, I'm
I
just
just want to
trying
be
to-
clear, just to your point, the 6 months is what is allowed for the full duration of the demo permit. So diligent progress shall be defined in the demolition permit. So if at the time that the permit is being pulled and their plan is submitted, that's being reviewed, and ultimately when that is reviewed and approved, that will define what diligent progress is. So I don't want to, it might be 6 months, it could also be shorter than that, dependent upon what their time frame or what their plan actually looks like, to be fair.
Can we extend or change?
It can be
Anytime
extend.
along the way. They
Yes.
come to us with a plan and
They wouldn't
45
need-
days and
yep.
it shifts everything.
I
we
think,
can
yes,
stay.
they would be able to do that. I think it becomes probably a little complicated under the circumstances. But again, they do have a certain amount of time frame. The trigger point, I suppose, is looking at it from the demo permit needs to be pulled and issued within 45 days. So that is an administrative process ultimately that needs to be undertaken with a review by city staff, professional outside counsel, and then ultimately issued. So I can't say how long it's going to take, but under normal circumstances, a demo permit can be issued for 60 days, or excuse me, 6 months. But again, recognizing the safety issues of this particular issue that have been pointed out today, I don't think you probably want to spend 6 months taking down a building when we know that it's not probably going to take that long, given the comments this evening. So that probably makes this a little bit muddier, but I just want to be clear about that commencing is the removal of the subject structure with a reasonable amount of time. Right now, this resolution and what you've approved is March 27th of this year. And then diligent progress shall be defined in a demolition permit prepared and submitted by the owner and issued by the city and amended at the sole discretion of the city. Clear as day.
sure, clears it up really well.
Please, Mr. Reeves.
Yes, you were talking about in the process of demolition, you might leave the back wall. Is this correct?
Yeah, you'd have to.
Okay,
way
yeah,
that
I understand that. It's either that or you would have to backfill and terrace it in.
I mean, I guess that could be an option. You'd have a big hill over there, but.
Okay, my thought is if you're leaving that wall, don't forget, we need to have a fence or something that's gonna block that off too, so
Of
that
course.
that's all continued around there so that the kids and whatever else that we're talking about here cannot get there. And I think that needs to be done post-haste. How quick can that be done? 2 weeks?
Well, that's what we were talking about doing immediately, is putting a taller fence up in the interim right now. Well, not tonight, but as soon as we reasonably could do it across the back side to keep people from getting on the roof as it is now. And then, of course, once the building's raised, then you're gonna have a big wall there, so then we'll have to have either the same fence or a new fence installed to make sure that no one goes off, just like the other empty voids on going up Oak Street that drop off into the abyss.
Yeah. Okay, the other thought I had too is, do you foresee any problem with having to mitigate any of the ground underneath this whole facility because of whatever was going on in the building with the seepage into the earth?
I can't say to that. I mean, I don't foresee that, considering what it was. But, I mean, if it is, then we'll have to remediate that. But I don't think that that's going to be an issue, but who knows?
All right, that's all I've got.
Very good. Any other?
Is the demolition limited to the building? It's not taking out the parking lot? That's just the dangerous building?
Yep. It is the subject structure is what it's referred to as. And again, that's somewhat of why the time frame is 45 days to pull the permit, because the questions about securing the site and ensuring safety throughout the duration of the demo that's what needs to be reviewed ultimately. As I was thinking, and this is maybe a question for our city attorney, but diligent progress can be defined how you all see fit, to include what I've said earlier, which is the pulling of a demo permit, but also the commencement of the removal of the subject structure. That could be added to this resolution if that is a concern as well. So I just want to make sure that that's clear for everybody. And to the point about the retaining walls, that's something I think has been talked about on a couple of different occasions. That again is what needs to be reviewed, but that is called out in here specifically to ensure that the retaining walls remain structurally intact, or at least maintain its integrity because of the adjacent public right-of-way, park, so on and so forth. So.
Very good.
I just want to clarify real quickly that I hope that I haven't come off as being very hard. I just know I have a lot of constituents in that area who have just, they're upset. They're tired of the potential hazard there. I know staff, like I said, our first responders, they don't want their officers or their firefighters going into that building at all. And I'm hoping that a plan comes forward, but I think the current resolution gives us plenty of time for you to get a plan together. And if one doesn't come together, at least the clock is running and it's going to get taken down, rather than us now starting 6 months down the road with another, clock. So.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of flexibility in that, and not to punish the new owners for the sins of the past and the people that have had to stare at this thing for years. But we appreciate the long-term view and the effort going forward, but we know where we're at.
Councilman Stevens, do we need to include anything in your motion about securing the property immediately with taller fencing?
Yeah, we can add that to it. Is that in that current resolution?
It is, thank you.
It is in there? Okay.
I have it in front of me, but I've read through it so many times I got lost.
While she's looking at that, just one thing. So just try to appease the people that live in the area and drive by. So you're going to put, for safety reasons, you're going to extend the fencing, right? Make it a little taller and stuff. Isn't there a material that you can, like a skirting or a blind that you can put inside the fence so it just kind of enhances the aesthetics and that you don't really see what's inside, just kind of blur the vision? Is that possible? Can you do that?
Definitely can look into that.
Right. And until the demolition takes place.
Appreciate that. We've all been kicking this around for years, and you hear about the retaining walls that will more than support without the building. If the building's taken down correctly, those retaining walls will be able to be maintained and support the road and the park. Developing that site is, although it looks like it's just easy to do, there's concerns with other neighbors, the parking lot, access, the space, all those issues. So it's not as easy as what it would seem. I appreciate you getting professional guidance on the development process. I think that will help out the city of Bonner Springs as well as you guys. So any other questions, concerns, comments about this resolution?
So if we vote yes on this resolution, they can come back in 6 months and ask for another resolution?
No. It's a 45-day time period with them having to start or have reasonable, diligent progress on March 27th, which is about 45 days from now. They'd like 90. Our resolution right now has 45.
And what is the judgment on reasonable progress?
Like they've said, a demolition permit as well as whatever we deem diligent progress. So if they come in 45 days and have had a demolition permit pending with the city, and it says we need to review what was underneath that building, or take samples of around there. Those are things that we can consider whether it's diligent progress or not. But from the start of the application for the demolition, they have 6 months to have it taken down. The demolition application is good for 6 months, and then it would be another issue. That's when it would be taken down for them.
So if we vote no on this, what happens?
You would be voting to not have a resolution, to have the building taken down.
It would be nicer if this could start next week. I mean, I'm just saying.
Any other questions, concerns, comments from the
Can I make another
council?
real quick comment?
Please, please.
Just so that everybody knows, we haven't sat idle. We've had engineers out. We've spent a lot of money. We've had engineers out. We've done our due diligence. There is some, I think the floor tiles have asbestos in them, so we've got to get that remediated. Maybe the ceiling tiles, I can't remember. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not good to have asbestos, but it's not, it's easy as it goes for any kind of hazmat type of situation. It's really not a big deal at all. We've had engineers out that have looked at the wall. The wall's completely sound. They don't see any problem whatsoever with demoing the building, and for everything to stay structurally sound, I guess is the best way to put it. We have not done any core samples under the building or in the ground, but they're based on what has been in that building over the years and what that was used for. There's no anticipation that that's there. I mean, anything's possible. We have had the fence repaired multiple times, believe it or not, trying to keep it secure. So I just want everybody to know that it's not like we haven't done anything. We have literally, staff can probably speak to that. We have tried multiple times to get assistance and grants in tearing this down so that we can take it down, raise the building, but come back with something new was the plan, and we've been unsuccessful. So we have also, just most recently in the last 3 weeks, we've hired someone that specializes. He has a very I don't know how to say it. He usually gets these grants. He has a way of filling out the paperwork or the rapport that he has with whoever it is that approves these things. I don't know if he's paying him money or what. I don't care. But he's got. I mean, he's almost flawless. Knock on wood. So we're hoping that the third, or this may be the fourth time around, that we're going to be successful with obtaining that. It's just we literally couldn't get it done in time for this condemnation hearing, and so we're asking for a little bit more time to do that. But we're not just sitting idle. We hate the building. We hate the look of it, and we want it to come down. That's the truth. So that's where we're at with it. And definitely it's a priority to try to keep it safe. You know, we'll absolutely install a fence across the back to try to keep people from getting up on top of there. And you know, we don't want anything bad to happen. That'd be horrible. So anyway, we are working to do things, and we've put a lot of homework in it. We've got renderings of stuff that we've paid architects of what we want to put there, and just all kinds of stuff. So it's not like, you know, we bought this building and we're just, you know, screw it. It's the city's problem, and the people have to look at it. So we're trying.
Thank you.
Can I make one more observation?
Certainly.
I know we're getting there, but real quickly, I think it's really not a case of, you know, the building needs to come down. We hope that a plan comes through. It's just right now, it's just you're trying to save a few dollars by hopefully maybe not having to mobilize equipment out there twice. Is that correct?
That's part of it, yeah.
Right. So we know the building's got to come down, and that's where my position is. It's a dangerous structure, and I don't think we can continue to put it off. And we were going to be putting it off as it is with the motion on the floor tonight, because it's got a lot of several months of leeway built into it.
Any other questions, concerns from the council? Seeing none? We have a... Please.
Yeah, it would still need, you need to have a fence permit, so would that be accurate? Yeah, so, I think the first thing to do, is ensuring that whoever the contractor is that's coming in to put in a new fence would come in and get the
Our
proper.
intent, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just to get the proper paperwork to address that concern about whether or not you're creating even more of a hazard or concern for the adjacent neighbors, so. I think it's 6 feet, is that right, Mark? Or is it 8 in that area? Yeah. So we'd get that sorted out.
6 or 8, yeah. I mean, I was thinking 6 foot, but if it has to be 8, but, I mean, I don't want to pick a fight, but how long is the fence that's been there? And when the building was thriving and going well 10, 15 years ago, and it had a 4-foot fence, and it's just now an issue? Worrying about kids getting up on, whether they fell through the roof or fell off the front of the building. I mean, come on.
Well, I think
Let's
that,
be realistic.
I think the roof was in better condition when that fence was put in, but.
Totally agree with that, but if you get up on the roof and walk to the front and fall off the front of the building, come on.
Yeah, it's all relative.
You could do that all day long.
Yep.
You could cut the fence.
Other questions, concerns, comments from the council? Seeing none, vote please.
We're voting on a motion to adopt a resolution finding the structure located at 112 to 120 Oak Street is unsafe and dangerous, and directing that the owners commence the removal of the structure no later than March 27th, 2023. Shannon?
Yes.
Wong?
No.
McMahon?
Yes.
Wood?
No.
Gurley?
Yes.
Kip?
No.
Stevens?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. It's a work in progress, and I appreciate your attention. Thank you. Please. Short break before the next item.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's right. Helped me out too.
We'll go ahead on to item number I'm sorry. We'll go ahead with item number 2, an ordinance allowing comprehensive plan change and requested rezoning. Staff?
Good evening, council members. Mark Lee, Community Development Director. We're here this evening to look at an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan, the future land use map, and a requested rezoning for 720 North 118th Street. I do have representatives here from Van Trust Real Estate, as well as their engineering firm. They do have a short presentation if you guys would like to see that about them. It's included within the packet and we can view it this evening. All the information is presented to you guys. We did have a public hearing with the Planning Commission and the motion was approved.
Certainly. Please.
We can start here and I'll kind of point to you if you keep going. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Grant Harrison with Van Trust Real Estate. Our address is 4900 Main Street, Suite 400, Kansas City, Missouri 64112. Appreciate staff and everyone's time today. We look forward to our conversation tonight. We do have a brief presentation which has been included. This is one of many steps in the process of our pursuit of this project. Van Trust is a local firm. We've been around since 2010. We have regional offices in Columbus, Ohio, Jacksonville, Florida, Dallas, Texas, and Phoenix. We've done quite a bit of industrial, light manufacturing, office, mixed use, hospitality. We have a lot of land across the country. We've done very limited retail. But this evening, we are pursuing the approximately 80 acres southwest of Urban Outfitters' new fulfillment center to do a new modern Class A industrial project. The next slide was a couple examples of more office or mixed-use projects in Kansas City. Again, we do a wide variety of product types. Keep going, please. As it relates to industrial, we have approximately 50 million square feet of history, 20 of which is under construction now across the country. We're probably in over 20 different cities. Our projects range from 80,000 square feet up to $1 million plus with multiple levels inside. So we have a wide variety of experience, and we do believe in the Kansas City market. It's a great run going forward. We love the I-70 corridor. I've been looking in the area for several years. Next, please. This was just a wide variety of the tenants we've worked with over the country, whether office or industrial. Gives you some flavor of some of those groups. Next, please. Keep going a couple. This is the 80 acres, again, directly southwest of Urban Outfitters facility off 118th Street and Speedway Boulevard. Next, please. Just a little more zoomed in version. As you'll see on the next couple of slides, our access, proposed access would be off Speedway Boulevard, then 118th Street. Is it possible to zoom out a little bit? Perfect. Thank Like I said, we have a long history of industrial. We do not have a set development plan yet, but we do have several concepts we'd like just to show you as examples. We believe this could be a 1 to 3 building complex. This first concept would be a cross dock, 800,000 square feet. Plan left or west side of the property, we're looking northwest from I-70, and then the building on the right would be a rear load facility of about 300,000 square feet. Next slide is just another view of this. The buildings we're talking about would be precast concrete or poured-in-place tilt construction with traditional steel, TPO roof. These would be built as of today on a speculative basis without anybody in tow. The build-in they will come model is true in Kansas City. We've had a great run the last 10+ years, but these would be extremely flexible buildings. Our hope would be to close on the property this summer, start grading and utility work, and then either go spec on one of these projects or see if we could market it and attract an end user day one. We do not have any financing contingencies. We build for the Van Tile family and are tasked with doing good projects, good product types, and in communities we'd like to be present in. Next slide is another option. This is a 3-building concept, another cross-dock facility to the far left or west, and then 2 rear-load facilities. So again, this site offers tons of flexibility depending on how we start if we're successful getting through this process. Next 2 slides are a couple other examples of that plan. Again, conceptual images. And then the next handful of slides are relative experience in Kansas City. This is Raymore, Missouri. We've built those 3 buildings, 565,000 square foot building, which is now occupied. The 500 in the middle is under construction and will deliver here in a couple months. And then the 1 million square footer on the plan right, knock on wood, will be leased by Newly, which is owned by Urban Outfitters. These are 2 of those real life buildings, photography taken. And then the next handful of slides are again Raymore, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri. That was a project Niagara Bottling occupied. Light manufacturing user took 600,000 square feet. And the next few would be in Lawrence, Kansas. These buildings, one on the left was built on a speculative basis, is now fully leased. It's 150,000 square feet. And then the second building was for Pretzels Inc., which is a pretzel manufacturer or bakery. So I gained about 20 pounds on that project. So. And then this is Platte City, Missouri, another project we'll announce here in the next couple of weeks. This is a 3-building concept that we'll go speculative on as well. So with those examples, again, we're in Kansas City. We drive by these projects. We believe in them, and we hope to be here for a long time. Again, we have great interest in this site. We're under contract. We've done lots of due diligence to date, title work, survey, phase 1, geotech, wetlands mitigation. We are working with the UG on access to Speedway, and we'll need to go through some traffic studies and improvements to Speedway. We'll need to work out utilities with the UG as well. So again, we're pretty far along, but this is another step in the process. So that is my short speech or introduction. More than happy to answer any questions we can. As we mentioned, we have several folks from our firm here too. So.
Very good. Thank you. Any other staff presentation?
So as Mr. Harrison said, they will be, and they are being required to do a traffic impact study that will look at intersections at State Avenue and also at 118th and Speedway. I'm not sure how many other intersections it entails, but they are doing a traffic study for that. They are working with the UG, or they will have to work with the UG to get some utilities to the site. There's a 12-inch sewer main on the north side of State Avenue that's slated to be tied into water services are right there, as well as everything else. Don't think I have much more. There was some concern about some traffic circulations that were brought up during the public hearing at the Planning Commission. I feel those were addressed fairly well, and the traffic impact study should add to that.
Very good. All right. Any other citizens, questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend the future land use map of comprehensive plan for BSCP-02-22, a change from a mixed-use designation to an industrial designation to amend the zoning classification on the official zoning map from a mixed-use zoning district to I-1 light industrial district for BSRZ-03-22 for 720 North 118th Street in the city of Bonner Springs, Wyandotte County, Kansas.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Shannon and seconded by Mr. Reeves. Questions, concerns, comments, and we'll start down here with Mr. Shannon. Ma'am? Sir?
No questions.
No questions.
Is this say address connected to the Bonner Crossing project?
It would have been.
Bonner
would've-
Crossing, that is
It would have been
no
a
longer a
portion of it.
consideration for this piece of property? Okay. And I may be remembering incorrectly, there was some conversation about water runoff and retention as part of the Bonner Crossing. Is that already being discussed and
It will
managed?
have to be with the site, yes. Yeah, every site's required to maintain the level of stormwater control.
Okay.
So yes.
Thank you.
And our rates are, post-development equals pre-development. So the runoff is basically the same, supposed to be.
Okay.
They'll have to construct some detention ponds and things like that to hold it and release off-site at the same rate.
No questions.
First, I just want to mention, I want to thank the commission, because they really had a great discussion. And, so many times we get things without any of their true thoughts and their input, they just vote. It was nice to see a very robust discussion take place on it. And of course, they had quite a few concerns. I think one of them was traffic potentially going down 118th Street, not so much trucks, but vehicle traffic, which I don't know if there's anything we can do on it. Like Ms. Gurley, it'd been nice to have seen a little bit more of the mixed use on those properties, but I think the one diagram you provided, which was a picture of the Speedway Park, what their plans are, I mean, it's basically going to be industrial no matter what you do in that area. So it's just, the area is moving that direction. Has nothing to do with the zoning, but there are there was one issue I saw, and that had to do with the potential traffic coming out onto 118th to get onto Speedway, and hopefully that can get somewhat, maybe through the site plan, maybe addressed. But otherwise, nothing else.
Yes, and this is nothing that you've done, but I thought I ought to mention, because I've seen this going on with other projects up there. I think most cities, counties have rules about, making the streets dirty because of your construction project, and I've seen a lot of that happening lately, and so I'm just kind of putting that in there, because I think that's something that needs to be
Constant struggle.
watched carefully so that, okay? And I know a little bit about that. I've done some construction myself and had to be out there cleaning the streets.
That's the constant struggle, yeah, yes, it is.
Anything else? Yes, please.
I never ask a question, but I'm given the other questions. For the traffic study, to whose standard is that going to be completed to, recognizing that they're dealing with two different jurisdictions? And if it's not ours, then how does that differ from our traffic plan?
It will be ours.
Okay.
We've reached out to the unified government to get copies that Urban did so that they can compare what they've done with what Urban did, and they will both end up at Wilson and Company.
At one time, one of the development plans for that area included a roundabout at that intersection. Is that something that?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay, very good. The least of those, the better. Sorry, my personal issues are coming out. Sorry. Do you have any future plans for developing more than just this property in this neighborhood?
We would love to. This is the only 80 acres we have under control that we have any ability to pursue at this point. So, but no, we'd love, if we all like each other and do a good project collectively, we'd love to keep doing stuff, whether it's industrial or other product types. So,
Like they made mention, that whole corridor from 110th around has had a lot of different ideas floated on it, and it appears as though it's going light industrial, or at least that's the example that's been set. And hopefully that can continue on that corner or in some support of light industrial. I know there's a lot of needs for those communities as well. So, thank you very much. No other questions, concerns, comments?
Actually, I'd like to just.
Please.
Yeah, let me walk it back. I do want to say something. I got a comment, I guess, or a question. There seems to be like a saturation of warehouses that are going up in our community, right? And it was my understanding, I heard you earlier, you don't, at this point in time, you don't have a locked-in tenant.
That is correct. So, backing up a little bit, Kansas City has about 13 million square feet under construction the last year. Roughly 12 million of that was absorbed. All of that was built on a speculative basis. So these tenants are reacting, these users are reacting very quickly.
Right.
So unless you're grading, you have utilities there, or better yet, you have a building up, you're really not in the game. Build-to-suits are far and few between. Again, these are very flexible buildings, so that variety of tenant that can go in them is massive. And again, this is a city or MSA that we do build spec, and that's something we're seeing across the country. So again, to meet their timeline and how they're reacting and advancing, you have to have buildings under construction.
You currently own the land?
Or under contract.
You're under
Yep,
contract?
under due diligence. So.
At one point in time, we're talking about making that retail or some sort, right?
There was a mixed use, and it was zoned for that, but that development has failed to see the light of day.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, wasn't that, that
Velocity.
that you were talking about, wasn't that north of that, and that this area was not considered?
This was a portion of it, more of the residential area on that original Velocity plan, a residential / multifamily.
Will this be a leased warehouse, or will you consider selling it to a tenant?
We truly don't have a box we would check. We would build in terms of scope and specifications as if we'd hold it forever. We have leased a lot of them, and we have sold to owner users too. We typically wouldn't sell to another competitor, but nimble in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, vote please.
Wood,
Yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Gurley,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
motion passes.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. On to item number 3, Sentinel-1 Singularity XDR platform purchase. Of course, whatever that is.
Yes. It's not obvious? No. I kid. Amber Vogan, Assistant City Manager. I came before you last year to kind of discuss our city's IT contractor and the transition that we needed to make there. This is another piece of that transition. This is the city's antivirus, anti-malware software. Currently, we have a solution, software called Viper. It is not a platform solution. It is installed on each machine. Each machine runs separately. We can't run any reports as to what happens on that machine versus that machine or anything like that. We have had little minor issues that I don't think we should see with an antivirus, anti-malware software. High Managed Services is our IT contractor. They use Sentinel-1 themselves, and that's what they recommend to their clients. This is a cybersecurity platform. It's comprehensive. We can run reports that tell us anything that's happened on any machine that this software is installed on. If there is some sort of detected malware or virus, it essentially kind of virtually pulls that network cable for us so that we don't have it spread throughout our network. It is 24/7 monitored by their team so that if they see something that's abnormal, they can contact us or our IT contractor to kind of give us a heads up and tell us, we're seeing this going on. Are you having a planned event, or is this something that we need to shut down? So it is a comprehensive solution that will add to our security. The cost is $13,605. That includes a one-time cost for the platform for the software, and then $2,500 for about 20 hours of labor for our IT contractor to uninstall what we currently have and install this new solution, plus some training that they need to go over with a couple of us in the city to be able to use it. So in future, it will only be the cost to renew the licensing, and we won't have those two one-time costs. Happy to answer any questions.
And that price?
And the total price?
To renew the subscription.
To renew the subscription, it varies based on how many stations we have, how many workstations, and what the renewal cost is, but right now it's about $113 per station.
With about how many stations?
I think they quoted around 65 stations.
85.
85, I'm sorry. I don't have it.
Yeah, the quote was 85.
There we go, 85, yes.
That's what I was getting.
So the cost, if it stayed the same, would be that 96. But if the cost of the renewal changes in the future. If we add terminals, it will change. Or reduce terminals.
Very good, thank you. Any other staff? Citizens? Questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the purchase of the SentinelOne Singularity XDR cybersecurity platform for network security at a cost not to exceed $13,605.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? We'll start right down here.
Yes, can this system, have they said anything to you about if it can be updated, upgraded at points when more types of malware come into effect?
Yes, this one is one of the top rated. There's quartiles of how they rate these types of software, and we're in the top quartile with this system, so they keep up to date with the newest malware trends that are happening in the world.
Nothing here.
And this is that same group that you kind of used when you were having other problems and they.
Yes. The Pi managed services, yes. This is a software that they recommend and use.
Thanks.
How does that compare to our annual cost of Viper?
So the current solution is going away. Right now, because it's not comprehensive, it's about $25 per workstation. But that solution is going away, and they're not going to offer it anymore. They did give us a quote for their newer solution. It's not as comprehensive as this one, but the cost difference, we thought this was much more valuable for what we're getting.
No questions.
Nothing? No other questions, concerns, comments? Vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
McMahon?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Congratulations. Hopefully this is something we never use and never see.
Good,
And-
good protection.
Yes, that's the best kind of protection.
Don't want to end up like our neighbors, do we?
Oof. If they had had, or I asked you this last time, if they had had this, that wouldn't have happened, referencing Wyandotte County.
I would think that they would have known about it pretty quickly if something.
Might have been able to stop it from propagating throughout the whole network.
Yeah, but you never know. On to item number 4, an MOU and a state of agreement for the HEAL grant.
Amber Vogan, Assistant City Manager. This is a memorandum of understanding between the city and the building owner of 304 Oak Street. And there's also an agreement between the city and the state for utilization of the Historic Economic Asset Lifeline Grant Program. The city was approached by Brian Lisbona, which is the new owner of 304 Oak Street, to apply for this grant to renovate the building and bring it back to life as its own independent commercial space. For decades, that building was a part of Burning Tire, used as their tire storage. So the facade on the front didn't have a doorway to be able to enter from Oak Street. All the utilities were combined together with the other two buildings of Burning Tire. So this grant will allow them to bring their utilities independent, to put a new facade on the front, renovate the whole interior, bring it into ADA accessibility with a new doorway, and bring it up to code standards to allow them to use it for commercial space for Kinfolk Creative and Kinfolk Created. They're complementary companies. One is kind of their commercial side where they will sell their wares, their t-shirts, their stickers, things like that, and the other piece of it will be manufacturing those items. They do work for tourism groups all over. They've been in business for a while as a work-from-home business in Basler, I believe it is, and they've outgrown their space and they're looking to move here. So this MOU and state agreement gives them a grant of $75,000. The city was the applicant and we are the administrator of the grant. We have no costs. We're pretty much a pass-through. We receive the grant dollars and reimburse the owner for eligible expenses from those grant dollars. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anything else from other staff? Citizens? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with the Kansas Department of Commerce and a memorandum of understanding with 304 Oak LLC for the Historic Economic Asset Lifeline Grant Program and authorize the city manager to execute the documents.
Second.
So we'll move by Mrs. Gurley and seconded by Ms. Long. Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start right here, sir.
None.
Ma'am?
None. I couldn't believe on page 134 the things that it constitutes the sole eligible project expenses. You don't think of such things, you know, the roof, I don't know.
I'm assuming they will require more than $75,000 to completely rehab that building, but should they, for some reason, not use those funds, those are forfeit to the state, basically?
Right. Their current budget is much more than 75,000.
One would assume.
Right. Yeah.
Say a great upgrade, thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and with the expansion of the other business right there, we're actually getting more and more retail now in the 300 blocks, so I'm glad to see that. So.
Interested to see that they're trying to do something historical with the building also.
Yeah.
And is it the city's responsibility to determine the eligibleness of the expenses, or does the state do that, or?
We are closely working with a state representative from Commerce. There is a upload site where we and the building owner can upload everything and the state can look it through. If we have any questions, they work with us really well. But we would, if we had any concern at all, we would ask them before we.
Don't have to have a private grant administrator.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
I love the fact that it was called HEAL, Historic Economic Asset Lifeline, you know, and then HEAL. Because, yeah.
Seeing no other questions, vote please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
McMahon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Hip?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the hard work going for the grants for our community. On to item number 5, a memorandum of understanding for the NRPA grant. Ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Justine Spees, Recreation Manager. Tonight, this is a memo of understanding between the city and the National Park and Recreation Association. This is for a $3,000 grant for staff to get certified, 2 of our staff to get certified in I believe it's called Fit and Strong program. This grant will also cover the materials of that program to help guide its goals. So just a bit of a background of this. Previously, we've been working with the county area agency on aging, there we go. They provided us with a fitness instructor that would offer fitness classes to our seniors at no cost. Due to certification issues and just scheduling issues, they've stopped coming to our facility. So we are no longer offering that program. So this kind of takes that place. We are looking for the Fit and Strong program as opposed to the Enhanced Fitness, just in case we do get another fitness instructor from the county that is able to work with us. So this is be complementary to that program. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have about this one.
Very good, thank you. Any other staff input? No? Citizens? Concerns? Seeing none, to get something to discuss, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion authorizing the city manager to sign the memo of understanding to accept the NRPA grant funds and requirements.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Shannon, seconded by Mr. Reeves. Questions, concerns, comments, and I think we'll start right here. No?
One more good thing for the city.
Nothing more?
Nothing.
Nothing here.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Very good. No other questions, concerns, comments. Vote, please.
Reeves?
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Sorry, Reeves?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
McNair?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you very much. We're now going to go, or the next item is an executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters with the exception of KSA 75-4319B